Decentralization of compute and storage is accelerating. The trade-offs with legacy storage become even more daunting with increased distance from the core data center. Imagine if storage could efficiently accelerate access to more data in more places. Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be back at Flash Memory Summit 2023. I'm Robbie Fricke, Fellow and Assistant Product Development Leader at Solidigm. And I'm so excited to talk to you today about the increasing need for hyperdense storage from the core data center all the way out to the edge. So decentralization is here today, but most of the storage we know today is in that core data center. And up to 90% of that storage in core data centers some legacy hard drives, the same technology we've been using for over 40 years. And think about a data center. It's purpose-built infrastructure, purpose-built for space, for scaling, for power and cooling, for serviceability. But distance from that core means infrastructure that's no longer optimized and subject to new locality constraints that become even more challenging. Now, with 5G and AI fueling even more data, they're accelerating the shift from data out to the edge. Internet of Things devices are growing by 3x by 2030. And AI model sizes are growing by 10x every 2 years. But moving that data from the core to the edge, it's not free. By some estimates, it's 4x more costly to move the data than it is simply to store it. So storage must adapt to these locality constraints that come with increased distance from the core. So let's think about an example we're all familiar with in terms of rapid decentralization, because it's not a new concept. Let's think about Amazon Prime. Their shift from massive centralized warehouses was underway, but their service level agreements, they weren't going to be met simply with having more boxes in a bigger warehouse. Instead, they have a new paradigm of localized logistics hubs, incorporating more value, packaging, labeling, custom orders, and of course the fast delivery of the goods you ask for. And this is analogous to what's happening in compute and storage today at the edge. So let's think about the workloads that are happening in the data center today. The dominant workloads on this landscape are read-intensive workloads. A recent large-scale study conducted by the University of Toronto showed the majority of the data center drives average 80% reads and only 20% writes. Machine learning and AI, big data analytics, content delivery networks, they all get smarter, they get better, they get more immersive with more data. And this shows no signs of slowing down. From the familiar in your everyday life, like Netflix or your connected car, to the less familiar, like smart agriculture, where a smart tractor today can generate 18 terabytes of data per hour out in the field. Again, this shows no signs of slowing down. Think about it, how it's changed just in the last decade. From streaming services used to be limited pay for capacity to now the unlimited binge all you want model we have today. Likewise, the sensors in your car, they're doubling every 5 years. And we see a similar trend on clients, where the typical workload is 70% reads. And the sizes, they're increasing. Think about the latest blockbuster games. They download sizes over 120 gigabytes. So let's think about an example we can all relate to in terms of smart transportation, and a little more focus on it. Think about a simple example of your connected car at the edge, the near edge infrastructure to communicate with it, and the core data center to communicate with it all. It's undergoing tremendous growth today. These vehicles, they're already generating massive data sets. And again, the sensors involved in these cars, they're doubling every 5 years. So it's generating even more data. And on top of that, it's also ingesting more data with more connections. Connections to smart cities, smart roads, pulling the weather, the entertainment, traffic, and more. And this applies both to production vehicles we drive, along with those development vehicles out there being used for AI development. The current per vehicle storage capacity will struggle to scale with this. And it's not just the edge cars, but the near edge infrastructure and the data center storage. Their needs are exploding as well. Bigger AI models with some model offloading to the edge is inevitable. Big portion of that vehicle data will now be uploaded to the cloud. Think about it, you'll have complete trip logs rather than just events being uploaded. Tesla's starting to do this today. 5G helps make all this possible. Again, legacy storage. We challenge to keep pace from both a capacity point of view and a performance perspective, as much as it's still on those legacy hard disk drives. So what are the implications of this storage moving out to the edge? Well, first of all, the size and weight. In a data center today, the available space is probably a full rack, but this shrinks down to maybe a half width by one at the near edge. And with even new constraints from device size with on-premise limitations that goes all the way out to the far edge. And power. Today we might have 12 kilowatts per rack in the data center. That gets down to maybe 400 watts on an open 19 brick today, to potentially even new constraints on the edge, maybe limited by battery life. And serviceability. From core infrastructure that's centralized and standardized, to the more costly decentralized model that's inevitable as you subject to the locality constraints of the edge. And operational efficiency. You go from predictable, well-understood data center environment to new, potentially harsh ambient conditions that must be dealt with as we move storage out to the edge. And uptime and reliability, already a big concern in the data center, becomes even more crucial as you move out to the edge, given the high cost of deployment and servicing at the edge. Lastly, the client space. You're seeing increasingly higher performance needs, bigger capacity demands. Simultaneously, the PC form factor is shrinking. Overall, we believe storage density is the key to addressing these challenges. Again, storage density. So if density is the key, who is the key to density? Well, the combined strengths of Solidigm and SK Hynix deliver density leadership. Let's think about 4 vectors of NAND scaling: linear scaling, logical scaling, vertical scaling, and architectural scaling. In terms of architectural scaling, all suppliers generally today have something similar to what we call at Solidigm, CMOS under the array. Think of this as the parking garage underneath the skyscraper. So the 2 most important ones I want to discuss with you are logical and vertical. In terms of vertical scaling, you just heard from Jungdal Choi about SK is already shipping the highest layer count in the industry, 238 layer TLC, with 321 coming soon. And now Solidigm is shipping its 4th generation of QLC on 192 layers, leading the logical scaling with an areal density at least 28% higher than all the other competing TLC out there. And we're not sitting idly by with our density leadership. We're taking a solutions approach to expand the density value of QLC. We have a strong understanding of both the media management and the system level requirements. Combine that to enable QLC on charge trap NAND. This will sustain our NAND density leadership. On top of that, it's more than density. We have decades of deep engagements, look beyond the typical 4 corners of SSD performance. We engineer both the NAND and the drive with optimizations to improve performance and quality of service in the real world workloads, the performance that matters. Today, we have already launched our industry-leading 61.44 terabyte SSD, the D5 P5336. Part of the industry-leading QLC portfolio, it enables the highest density standard servers. On top of that, Solidigm's 1st generation SLC SSD is in high volume manufacturing and undergoing customer qualification. And then in software, we've recently released our Cloud Storage Acceleration Layer, or CSAL software, that works with any SSD, not just Solidigm's, to shape writes. This optimizes QLC performance and endurance. It's available now on GitHub through our software performance development kit. Please come see a demo of QLC and SLC and C-Cell all working together at our booth here at Flash Memory Summit. And on the client side, we've recently released our Synergy Software 2.0. It combats that inevitable storage slowdown that occurs on your system over time, making sure that your data is always the fastest to be accessed. This solutions-based strategy enhances QLC value, but also extends the value beyond the mainstream, beyond the read-intensive workloads, enabling it for everyone. So I've mentioned our 4th generation QLC up here a few times, but some of you in the audience, you may still harbor some misconceptions about QLC. So let's have a little fun and compare what the industry projected to the reality of our 4th generation portfolio. The read performance. This is expected to slow down, but in reality, both the sequential reads and the high queued up random reads have performance equal to, in many cases faster, than competing TLC drives. And the write performance, it was expected to slow significantly, but we have sequential write performance that's within 25% of most TLC drives. And the latency, some of you thought it would double with each bit per cell, but the latency under write pressure, the Solidigm SSD is much better than many competing TLC drives. And the endurance. Many people expected this to be at the hundreds of cycles on 4 bits per cell. But our 4th generation QLC at 3,000 program erase cycles far exceeds expectations. In fact, further gains are possible as we move to charge trap. This combined with high capacity delivers higher lifetime writes than most TLC on the market. And the errors, the quality, the errors are expected to be worse than TLC, but instead, Solidigm's QLC drives deliver equivalent quality and reliability to our TLC drives. In fact, like its TLC brethren, we deliver industry-leading resistance to silent data corruption and the lowest projected AFR in the industry. We have the data. So let's revisit that smart transportation use case. And let's think about it. At the far edge, you often see these development vehicles driving around here in the Bay Area. Denser, bigger storage enables them to ingest more data per vehicle or keep that vehicle on the road longer, avoiding that inefficient return back to the service bay to upload all the data. Similarly, your production cars with higher capacity, they can drive longer without dropping data. They have sufficient capacity to scale to the increasing needs we know are coming in the future. And at the edge infrastructure, QLC stores significantly more data on servers that can be subject to the same space and weight constraints at the far edge. Larger capacities can enable an access point to service more vehicles, critical given the expected adoption rate of connected cars. And of course, on top of all this, total cost of ownership benefits will be realized. And at the core data center, you're going to realize the same benefits as edge infrastructure. Density advantages and scalability advantages, power and cooling savings, overall, again, a substantial total cost of ownership opportunity. So I just walked through a smart storage example with involving transportation, but this rapid decentralization of storage, it's happening everywhere. Let's talk about smart healthcare for a second. There are some studies that show that healthcare produces up to 30% of the world's data. Storing, analyzing this data at the edge means better and faster outcomes for patients. In terms of agriculture, it's existentially important. We have a shrinking rural workforce, diminishing arable land, and a rising population. Increased productivity in this space is urgently important. Smart retail has limitless possibilities, from personalized and immersive experiences, smart inventory systems, customized deals, security, and more. And the latest factories in the industrial space. A smart factory today can generate 5 petabytes of data per week. And then hospitality. Think about elevated experience through integrating the connectivity, the security, comfort in dining, entertainment, and more. These and other high-growth segments are not possible without optimized storage from the core to that mid-tier infrastructure, all the way out to the edge. So I've talked about the value of hyperdense storage and all the places the value can be realized. I'd like to play for you a short video that captures the value from just a few of our customers. So you just saw a small sampling of QLC value being realized by some of our customers. These successes and others inspired our 4th generation QLC SSDs. Our 4th gen portfolio and our solutions approach are bringing more value to more places. Today, 100% of our bits on the client space are shipped on QLC, all of them. And in just a few years, we've increased by 10x the percent of QLC bits we ship to the data center. In fact, in a recent IDC paper, they project that nearly 45% of the bits going to the data center by 2027 are going to be QLC. So as you can tell, we are very bullish on QLC. And again, let me repeat why. We are in a read-intensive world. You must read the data to get its value. And we're becoming even more read-intensive. And again, from the core to the edge, QLC can store 2x more than TLC and 6x more than hard disk drives. And again, from the core all the way to the edge, QLC can reduce your total cost ownership 20% versus all TLC arrays, and 50% versus legacy hard disk drives. And again, QLC has practically the same read performance as TLC. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is why we are so bullish on QLC. So our strategy is to deliver optimal value to this new storage paradigm. The combined strengths of SK Hynix and Solidigm will deliver the best technology, products, and solutions to continue density leadership. Please see our sessions here at Flash Memory Summit and come visit our booth number 107. Thanks, everyone. Have a great conference.